It is round 2 of GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup. Welcome to Monza, a very warm and sunny Monza. The circuit looking fantastic in the sunshine, and it is going to look even better very shortly when 57 GT3 cars pour out onto the circuit. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside, Bryn Lucas and Nina J. Paul in the pit lane. And qualifying coming up a little bit later than planned because it's been quite a morning. The first drama of the day was that a car went off in the hardship laps, which are given to teams that had a big problem yesterday, and that did some barrier damage, so that delayed things. Then we've had a red flag in a subsequent qualifying session, so the timetable has slipped a little bit, people working hard to get things back on track, and the teams then, who've been here bright and early, are now ready to go. Qualifying, we ought to make the point, Joe, is going to be slightly different as well. To give people clear track space, we're going to split the classes here.
Yeah, we're going to have A and B sessions. So the A part will be your silver graded drivers and the bronze class. And then the B will be your pro and your gold classes. And here is our Monza circuit. 5.7K, 11 corners, a real mixture of rights and lefts. 7 rights, 4 lefts. And that's going to become important in the race because there is going to be a pit stop where only left-hand side tyres are changed. So that's quite a rarity. It's the only time it happens in the GT World Challenge Championship.
Yeah, this race, 3 hours but 3 pit stops, is one of the more interesting, isn't it? Because it's less formulaic in the other 3-hour races, if you like. You go for an hour, you pit, you go for an hour, you pit, you go for an hour, and you take the checkered flag. But here, that extra stop, and it's termed as the third stop for fuel and 2 tyres, but actually it doesn't have to be the third in the sequence. It's the third as in extra. So when you use that, it's kind of up to you. But it does mean that cars really, in some cases, only come into the equation in the final half an hour of the race or so.
Yeah, normally you either pit lap A or B in the 3-hour race, the way the window is allowed. But here, with this extra stop, I think we could see cars stop as early as 17 minutes into the race if there's a full course yellow or safety car, or as late as 20 minutes to go if there is a full course yellow. So it's going to be some split strategies depending on how confident you are in drivers. We've seen many a strategy decided in the Silverstone 500 race in British GT, which is the most similar format to this. 3 hours, but an enforced 3 stops.
And it was 2 years ago, wasn't it, that BMW kept rolling the dice, WRT, to every time there was a yellow, bring the car in, get these stops out of the way. And it played into their hands to win what was a really intriguing race. Now, the fast lane has opened then, so the cars for Q1A make their way down to the end of the pit lane as you look there at Ricardo Perez's Porsche from the Rutronic Racing stable. And next to it, the Rutronic Lamborghini, that new Temeraria that's getting better, but still work to do.
Yeah, it seemed like Grasser got on top of it well yesterday, didn't they? Bortolotti got that car inside the top 6 in free practice 2. And it was this brand here, BMW, that looked slightly sketchier at times, I thought. They finally got there in the end with one of their cars, but they weren't at the sharp end.
No, whether or not they've made representations to the technical board to say, oh, you know, you need to give us a BOP break, we'll try to find out. But certainly all the BMWs, not just WRT's cars, but the Rover cars, the Paradigm cars, they all looked to be a little bit at sea. And talking of C's, 2 of them, the 2 C's Verstappen.com car, that's the Chris Lallam, Jules Gournor, Danny Juncadella Mercedes. That's one of 2 cars coming into qualifying with a penalty already. Yeah,
exactly. From free practice 1, Chris Lallam was judged overtaking under yellow, actually on the 48 man filter car. So they've got a 5-place grid penalty. And the other one was the 54, Angus Whiteside, improved his sector under yellow and got a 10-place grid penalty. So we need to keep an eye on 3 and 54, especially the 3 car, because you would expect that to be really well inside the top 10 by the end of all 3 qualifying sessions.
And all 3 drivers must drive in one session, and therefore we're taking the average of those 3 times as Q1A begins. So the clock at 20 minutes starts to tick. The reason for splitting qualifying like this is just to give the drivers a little bit of a possibility of finding some clear track space, which is not very easy around Monza. That run down towards the first corner, of course, when we get to racing, always a pinch point. There it is. So you've got the long, fast drag for the rolling start, hard on the brakes, turn right, turn left. You've got the run-off curb, yes, but in just about every race we've had so far this weekend, there's been some sort of drama down there. GT4 yesterday had quite a spectacular accident. Clement Seiler putting the car in the wall under braking, suddenly turned sharp left and did quite a lot of damage. We're hoping it's going to be a clean start for GT3. but we'll wait and see. There in the silver category, number 30 WRT BMW is the car of Ignacio Montenegro, Matisse Lismont and Amaury Cordil. So everybody out. Time here just nudging towards 10 o'clock, so we're later than planned by a few minutes, but the team's then on a circuit that's going to be cooler than it will be when they go racing.
Yeah, we say cool in inverted commas. Yeah, 40 degrees already, ambient at 26, but we're 20 minutes later than planned, and that would have been a problem for the teams. The tyres would have been in the oven getting up to temperature, so they would have had to cool them off then to try and find the happy medium.
Rahal Fry there in the WRT pit box as number 177 Mercedes storms out of the Ascari chicane. That's the car of Alfredo Hernandez, Stefan Tribodini and Colin Carasani, who was the Silver Cup champion in endurance 2 years ago. Now this car also had to do a hardship lap this morning, the number 9 Porsche, because yesterday had a fuel issue and stopped in the pit lane just before pit out, and there was a little bit of a blaze.
Yeah, I went and spoke to the team yesterday. They wouldn't tell me what the exact problem was, but what I could see was the car was stripped down. And it looked like one of the fuel pipes had basically split and leaked fuel onto the front right brake disc. So the Manthey team that effectively run Purex Racing working late into the night to make sure it was A-OK. But the brand Porsche has been fast, hasn't it? Nessov in the car right now in this Purex Racing car has been fast. So this will be a car to watch. At the moment, he has a lot of real estate in front of him, but there are cars in front of him on their outlap. So the next guy he'll see is the 97 car, potentially is going to hold him up, the Rutronic Porsche. At the moment, we keep an eye on the sectors, and I think the times are going to be somewhere in the mid to high 45s in this Q1.
Yeah, Alexei Nessov, the man behind the wheel of that car at the moment, and it is an entry these days in the Silver Cup. Alex Malikin, one of the 3 drivers, a previous Bronze Cup champion, and Alexei Nessov, another rapid driver. He's on the lights to warn the traffic of his progress as he comes now under the bridge down towards the Ascari chicane. And they're not going to be able to do that many laps, of course, in the limited amount of time available per session now. Yeah,
exactly. So although there's 16 minutes remaining, only 10 afforded to them here. It's a purple Sector 2. You can see on the timing screen, Sector 2 should be in the 35s for a good lap time, and Sector 3 should also be a 35. So even splits here at Monza on the sectors. For reference, Sector 1 fastest last year was a 33.4, so you can see Nessov there was a good 0.8 off this lap. So expect this lap to probably be in the mid 46s by the time we complete it.
So Nessov up towards the timing line and breaks the beam as he goes through and does a 1:47.014. That's the first time, and there's no average to think about at the moment because, of course, it's the only one driver that we've had. Anthony Bartone has done a 48.1 behind there in the silver Mercedes. Ahmad Al-Hathi has gone through, also has Gabriel Rindon. We'll have a look at the order as they come by. And Horatio Fitzsimon doing a decent job, number 23 McLaren. There was a quick car yesterday in free practice too. Yesterday's 2 sessions, quite quirky. The first one was rather chaotic with a couple of red flags and safety car, full course yellow periods, and one of the stoppages was to sweep gravel off the road. It got so messy. Whereas the second session was so calm, it was hardly a drama at all. It was almost bliss for race control, I think, after the dramas of the first session. Ferrari, of course, looking for success around here to please the Italian fans, the Tifosi. You've also got Valentino Rossi, of course, looking to go well, but the BMWs, as Joe made the point earlier, did struggle yesterday. 5 minutes of Q1A still to go.
Yeah, time's coming in thick and fast. The Mustang very quick in Sector 1. This car's had a good start to the lap into the final corner at the Parabolica. Is Montenegro going to have a chance here of pole position? He's got a great amount of space in front and behind, so WRT have found him some space. This could be somewhere right near the sharp end, but remember, effectively we're only seeing half the field at the moment. Last sector dropped away from him. You can see there, lost half a second there, so only 5th place.
Yeah, behind the Paradigm BMW of Christian Hahn and Robert De Haan in the other Paradigm car was the fastest, but Marvin Dienst has just gone best of all for Winward in number 87 Mercedes, as this is Gabriel Rindon in the Team Dubai Get Speed Mercedes AMG coming now out of the Parabolica up towards the line. It's another car that runs in bronze. Kobe Powell's Aston behind looking fairly rapid, and as he goes across the timing line, goes up to 2nd fastest. It's Ricardo Perra's Porsche that's the fastest. Perhaps no surprise, Porsches have been good around here all weekend, and Ricky Perra, that we don't see a lot of in World Challenge, very accomplished driver.
Yeah, although we're seeing a lot of him, aren't we, this weekend, because he's racing a GT4 in a Porsche as well. That Mercedes had a huge number of oversteers. We followed it in front of Kobe Powers coming out of Parabolic. That is not the corner you want to have a snap of oversteer. 200 Ks on exit there. It was seriously quick hands to save the car going off into the gravel.
And the other thing with these 10-minute qualifying periods is you can't be throwing away laps for track limit abuses, but people are. So we've got a couple of cars that have lost lap times, one of which is number 44, and that's the Greystone McLaren Josh Rattigan at the wheel of it. So Ricardo Perra, Kobe Powervals, Ricardo Mazzola, Marvin Deist, and then Ezekiel Perez Compact. It was, and then Dante Raponge goes up to fourth in the Optimum McLaren. You're looking at Finn Wiebelhout in that grunt and go Mustang, towering over the Ferrari ahead, the JMW car. That's Marvin Deist in the Mercedes AMG, the turquoise car coming at the front of the shot, but Wiebelhout looking good in the first sector at least. Yeah,
getting a toe off the bronze-rated driver Kiefer in that Ferrari, but he's going to be compromised on the narrow line. Should be okay. Where's this going to put him? He's 7th at the moment. That purple sector 1, massively impressive, keeping a tight line on exit, looking like he could box, but it's a bit the sim move, isn't it, to do the shorter distance there. Crosses the line, goes back up to first. Purple sector 1 and 3 with traffic in the middle.
We were saying yesterday how much more competitive the Mustangs were looking, and again in the Silver Cup, so they are. This is Ricardo Mazzola coming now in the Trezor Attempto Racing Audi out of the Ascari chicane. He's 5th in the times. First sector was good, but he's a little bit down in the second sector as he's got a whole queue of cars ahead of him, and he either makes this his last proper flying lap or he backs out of it and tries to go again, giving himself space. The team will be on the radio looking at his deltas. They'll be looking at the amount of traffic up the road. I think Mazzola's going to try and finish this lap, but the next one is going to be blighted by other cars around him. He comes up towards the line, so Ricardo Mazzola goes through now, and that lap is a 46.5 for him. So slight improvement for Ricardo Mazzola, but now he's in and amongst the traffic with just under 2 minutes to go for this Q1A. That's Marvin Deist you're looking at in 87, who's up to 2nd in the times now. Comes out of the Ascari chicane, powers his way now on towards the right-hander of the Parabolica once again.
Something to add into the equation is that these tyres used in quali have to be used by these drivers in the race. So if you do feel like you've got the best time possible, then boxing to save kilometres on those tyres will help you towards the end of your stint. And some drivers will be thinking about that, but qualifying so important here because of such a big field. We saw yesterday over 50 cars covered by 1 second in free practice 2 as Wiebelhout goes even faster again. And the 65 Mustang going well. The Audis went well yesterday as well. And look at that Santalot car. Looked okay. And then a plethora of cars all jostling for position. Of course, you can't block cars. You can't impede cars. But you are allowed to exist. And that's what the RGN car did. For example, there, he went in the way. And he's trying to set his own lap up as Compact is fighting through the traffic, trying to keep this lap alive. And unfortunately for him, I'm expecting to see a sector 3 of maybe +6, +7 as they go side by side. Not sure the Aston Martin had seen him, and sure enough, lost 6/10 in the last sector, but goes P3.
So good efforts, that's for sure, with the flag imminent now, just half a minute and counting as the cars head to the chicane. You can see that the teams are getting ready in the pit lane to send out the pros and the golds, ready for the second part of Q1. So individual sessions we can talk about times, but from Q2 and Q3 onwards, then it's the average that's the focus, because that really is dictating the grid rather than the isolated qualifying segment that we're looking at. That car was in the gravel yesterday, number 914 Porsche, Georgios Kolovos at the wheel of it. It was his son who put it into the gravel, Stylianos Kolovos, yesterday, but didn't do too much damage. It didn't trigger a red though. It was over the timing line. There goes number 52 Ferrari. And that car was all over the grass at one point yesterday. Mathias Zagazzetta then in FP1 stopped with a loss of power, but they bounced back in pretty decent form. So the circuit now gets very busy because you've got the overlap with Q1B getting underway. In other words, the other 2 classes going onto the circuit and those that have been out already, bronze and silver, coming in. But there's that one lap where everybody's out at once.
Yeah, and as the gravel gets drawn on, what's the advantage to be in the A or the B? The A gets the cooler track, the less gravel, but less rubbered in than the B. get the opposite side of the stick. Where do we think Wiebelhaus is going to finish up by the end of this A and B combined session? I would suspect somewhere, my guess is going to be probably 16th. I think it's going to be that fast from the Pro and the Gold cars that currently fastest car, the 65 Mustang, is going to drop outside of the top 15. Let's see as we get everyone else on the scoreboard. I'm interested by how many cars are able to go along into qualifying and keep improving. It's normally a factor of how much traffic there is around you. It's only really Ricky Perra that got his done on his first flyer. We're seeing laps done on lap 4, 5 and even 6 there for Kobe Powell. So huge spread. But like I said earlier, each lap 5.8 kilometers, nearly extra mileage on your tires. At the end of your stint will be hurting there. If we look at Petrobelli in the Acura Cross Aston, looks like he's boxing to me. He's done a pretty good job, and that's the other factors. All the bronze cars don't need to run their bronze driver in Q1. So at the moment, we need to wait for all 3 sessions to see where those bronze cars are going to end up.
So the first batch back down the pit lane, and it's Ford fastest, at least for now. This is the car we were discussing a little while ago with the 5-place grid drop for Chris Lallam. It's going to be Danny Juncadella who goes first. Chris won't have made himself hugely popular by that, but they can battle from the race. But you know, they need to be at the front because even Pole is going to be 6th on the grid. Yeah, is he going to get held up by the 32 BMW? Just saw that leave pit lane, so he'll be on the flashes, I think, in between the 2 chicanes here. And yeah, this is going to be our first real mark in the sand of what a pro car can do with one of the top pros out there in Danny Juncadella. Heading now to the Curva Grande with 7 minutes on the clock for this first part of qualifying then, as the 2Cs run car in the Red Bull livery goes through that long fast right-hander up towards the Rogier chicane. And the time that he's aiming for is anything better than a 45.7 at the moment, which is the best of the Silvers, Finn Wiebelhaus, from the first part of qualifying. McLaren in the background. You can see how much gravel already has been dragged onto the racetrack at various parts, and as I say, yesterday we did have free practice 1 interrupted for a time, so sweeping could happen.
Yeah, it's not a good sector on this. It could be a prep lap more than a push lap, because at the moment this is going to get nowhere near the sharp end, and that's not what we expect from this car or driver. So sometimes the tyre not quite ready by the outlap, and the driver deciding just to bring it in slightly better. Maybe a few others in that sense doing that, and that's why we saw laps later on in quali, and for sure sector 2 backs that up as well. So don't expect this lap from the 3 car to put him anywhere representative for sure in this next part.
You see Lucas Auer in the yellow man filter car wheeling around. You've got Kelvin van der Linde in the BMW just up the road ahead, as they are also getting ready to go for a flying lap. But Danny Juncadella comes then to the Parabolica. Personal best, obviously, because it's his first anything like proper lap, but I think there's more to come, as you say, Joe, up towards the timing line. Danny Juncadella will go through. A 45.7 remains top, and there you go. He's a good couple of seconds the wrong side of it. So prep lap done, now he can really push.
Exactly, he was pretty aggressive over the curbs at the start of the lap before, so the line was going. He's obviously just not putting the energy into the tyre. Adam Smalley behind in the Optum McLaren. We look at the Rutronic Porsche. Luca Engstler here. Like we said yesterday, his car looks so high and soft at the moment. Under braking, it really dips and dives.
Rutronic Lamborghini for this year for the team after the title success with Porsche last year. They have got a Porsche still, which is the Antares Au Ricardo Perra entry. But you get the feeling, don't you, that they are frustrated, to say the least, that development isn't coming on as quickly as. Okay, it was always going to be a gamble to give up a proven brand and go to a brand new car and perhaps start a relationship with Lamborghini and work with them. But yeah, Paul Ricard, I think, really did prove where the car was against the opposition. Progress is being made, but we can't yet talk about Rutronic as being up for a race win, can we?
No, and it's painful doing your development in public as well. That's the hard bit for a team and brand. And yeah, for a car that under the Hurricane obviously won Spa 24 Hours last year, at the moment we're not knocking on the door of a result like that.
No, indeed. Luca Engstler, we know he's good, came from a touring car background, as did his father, although Franz Engstler initially was a Formula 3 racer. Came out of the Ascari chicane there. looking good, looking quick, but whether the car is willing is another story altogether. Still, we're looking at a 45.7 as the best time from Finn Wiebelhaus. Increasingly, these Q1B laps are filtering into the overall system, but still only as prep laps rather than proper push laps. This is Luca Engschler heading up to the line, ride with him.
We rode on board yesterday, didn't we? And the car always looked good. We had Mapelli driving yesterday. And you can see the speed building, you can see the bungee there bouncing across. That's to help the seatbelt locate when they do the driver change, which is so important in this format. And yeah, I'm really surprised by the lack of pace from the pros and the golds. And it is still Wiebelhaus from Piana in that Q1 session. Schandorf here has done a purple sector 1, and the Ferraris are lighting up the sector board. So this could be a lap to go fastest overall out of everyone at the moment. Needs to be a 45.7 or lower.
Yeah, the best from this group are the golds of Gilles Magnus and then Frederick Schandorf. And Schandorf has now gone third, so he's the best of anybody out of Q1B, but still it is a silver on top and a bronze second. Now, is that anything down to temperatures just slightly increasing, or are we still expecting the pros to suddenly ignite at the very end?
We're running out of time for that to happen, though, aren't we?
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's the problem. As we look at Rivera, Maxime Martin is on a good lap as well in the Get Speed Mercedes. We follow Rivera here, the 51 Ferrari. There is Martin in the 17. He's going to break the beam first. Is this going to get pole? It's not second place. Wiebelhaus will be in the garage with a very big smile on his face right now as Rivera breaks the line to go third.
So, Finn Wiebelhaus from Maxime Martin, Alessio Rovera, Marvin Deans, Frederick Schandorf, Gilles Magnus. That's your order. This is Danny Juncadella, who is 10th, +5. Don't forget, because of the penalty. Coming down now into the Parabolica. And we're not seeing sectors on this lap or underneath the time, but he has done 2 greens. If you look at the timing tag, you've got those little green stripes, and Lucas Auer has gone top as he comes across the line. So Lucas Auer does a 45.7, 26 thousandths quicker than Wiebelhaus. Juncadella now goes 4th +5 as he comes across the timing line. So yeah, now the pros are doing what we kind of expected, just in the nick of time.
Yeah, and Marnie's put a lap in as well to go third, so Ford second and third at the moment. Gilles Magnus goes across the line in the Mark VDS Boots and Porsche, the first car in shot there. So yeah, it has been a lap by Wiebelhaus, and that has really caught a lot of guys out, I think, and maybe the A session has the advantage over the B as we pick up Arjun Maini, who's gone faster again in sector 1. The Mustang seemingly loving this very fast Monza circuit.
So the field coming towards the end of Q1, and as we've been saying, Lucas Auer then Mercedes ahead of Finn Wiebelhaus Ford, Arjun Maini Ford, Danny Juncadella Mercedes, Maxime Martin Mercedes, and 6th is Alessio Rovera for Ferrari. Where's your best BMW? 14th, Kelvin van der Linde.
This could be a good lap for Martin, even though it's not a green sector 2. He's very, very quick in sector 2 already. Crosses the line, goes third, so he goes in front of Maini, but I think Maini's going to go fastest overall.
Yeah, because he's done an absolute best and a personal best, and traffic permitting, Arjun Maini then coming out of the Parabolica. There's nobody to get in his way. This should put the Ford top, which will be a mega result. It does. Arjun Maini, the Indian driver, quickest then, and he does it by 0.2 of a second from Lucas Auer. Fair play. That was a really, really good effort.
Huge gap as well. That's going to really help the average. Remember, you're a hero in your session, but your grid position is when all 3 drivers get their times combined. That's when it gets important. Drudy, we're on board at the moment. It's the Aston Martin. Last corner coming up. It's 14th at the moment. This has got a chance to get us inside the top 10 if it's a clean last corner. Gets it into the apex nice. Hard on the throttle now. Let the car flow out wide all the way up to the white line. And then you're going shortest distance to the line. You'll just be getting a slipstream from that Ferrari in front, but that will be traffic next lap, I think. And he just gets another lap as the checker flag falls.
Dylan Pereira is on a quick lap, number 99, and has just got second. I was going to tell you he was on an equal time with Frederick Schandorf, but the Audi, the venerable Audi, goes second. So it is Ford from Audi, provisionally now the top 2.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? What the Audi still does competitively. V10 naturally aspirated car in that one as we go to Christopher Hasser, one of the fastest Audi drivers out there, doing the old hack of keeping the steering wheel straight for as long as possible so you don't get any scrub. Now brings it over to the brake zone for the Parabolica. This will be his last lap, of course. It's been a good sector 1. Sector 2 is okay. Car looking nice, good traction, no loss of grip it seems, and he pushes to the line 10th at the moment. Can he improve?
Yeah, the fact that this Audi is 10th illustrates that the R8s have still got some pace around here. Christopher Hauser does not improve on that lap. Danny Juncadella did go quicker in sector 1, not so good in sector 2, and he's wide coming out of the Ascari chicane, kicks the dust into the air, but he's certainly hustling on. Third in the time, Juncadella.
Tyre screaming no more through Ascari. He was wide through the mid part, which then made him even wider on exit. He did well not to drop it in the gravel. This is where the tyre is given up, but the driver is overdriving to try and compensate. So he is giving it everything he has to. Remember, there's 2 more qualifying sessions to go. He can't damage the car. That's where GT Racing has a different dynamic as a driver. It's a team sport. It's not about solo. Crosses the line, stays third, 45.7. So the lap from mine is still 1.7 tenths quicker than anyone else. That's going to be an important gap for his 2 remaining teammates.
Fabio Scherer will go next. Chris Lullen will go in that number 3 Mercedes, and Alessandro Frasinetti for number 99 Audi that splits them at this moment. So the cars take the checkered flag. Some bail early just to give a little bit more prep time. Others will take the flag on the track. But Arjun Maini, the hero of the hour. Yesterday, one of our heroes was Dennis Lind, who did remarkable things in the Stella Corvette, but he was humble enough to admit that he got a tow. But for Arjun Maini, that was a very, very good effort. Ford's 1st and 5th. Really,
really good for HRT there, and the Indian driver doing everyone proud back at base. You can see the debris flag there, the amount of gravel that's been dragged on by these guys already, and we're only 33% of the way through our qualifying. Will we have to have a delay in between sessions to sweep the track? Potentially at some point. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, the gap he's got is incredible, because when you consider the top 25 covered by a second, and he's got 17% of that second to second place, it has been a mega, mega performance from this 64 car.
Now, does that prove that the Fords are making continuous progress? Does it also suggest that the BOP helps them around here, or is this a very Ford-friendly circuit? We'll come back to that point in a moment. Just to look at the order, Arjun Maini then from Dylan Pereira, in other words, Ford ahead of Audi, Mercedes AMG next, Danny Juncadella ahead of stablemate Lucas Auer. Then you've got Finn Wiebelhaus in the second of the Fords. He was quickest initially, remember, out of the silver and bronze session. Maxime Martin from Alessio Rovera, Marvin Dietz from Frederick Schandorf, and Christopher Hauser rounding out the top 10. The best in Pro, Arjun Maini. The best gold, Dylan Pereira. The best silver is Finn Wiebelhaus, and Marvin Dienst heads bronze. All 4 classes represented within the top 8 in the times. There you can see the hero cards showing you the fastest in the classes and the drivers, with the first names thus far having done the time. The middle column is driver 2, the driver therefore for the second part of qualifying, and then you've got driver 3 with the lightest of the car, because it'll be lower on fuel doing that 3rd session. And slowest thus far, Alfredo Hernandez Ortega, moving up from Lamborghini Super Trofeo into GT World Challenge Europe this season. The other aspect of that graphic shows you just how cosmopolitan and entry it is. Drivers from all over the world, not just all over Europe, coming together. Right, let's go back to my Ford query. What do we read into that?
All of your points were correct, David, I would say. I think it suits the nature of the car. I think they're making big progress. Speaking with HRT at Paul Ricard, they inherited the Evo from Multimatic, so it's improved the car, of course, but they have to learn it. And then the nature of Monza, you probably couldn't draw a better circuit for that Ford Mustang than what we have here in the Lombardy region. Sector 2, maybe it struggles a little bit with its front tyre, it seems, at Lesmo 1 and 2. But Sector 1, Sector 3 are dreamland for that car.
But in fairness, we did have good results yesterday for the GT4 Mustang, so it's a Ford-friendly circuit, and saving on rubber as they bounced it through the first chicane. That was Arjun Maini on 2 wheels, the Indian driver coming into GT racing, of course, with a good single-seater pedigree initially. And it was quite a step, wasn't it, for HRT to move away from Mercedes to go to Ford. It was quite a gamble. They clearly saw something in the Mustang that appealed. And Arjun Maini, who's also done DTM and European Le Mans Series racing, no stranger to sports car and endurance racing, but having had a very good session. So the green flag waves as straight out now are Q2A drivers. So again, silvers and bronzes from driver 2. And there, Arjun Maini talking to Fabio Scherer and explaining what the car is up to.
But if you just like roll it in and slowly, just, you know,
everybody else pouring out that's eligible to go out onto the circuit. So this qualifying session rattling through, then racing from GT2, McLaren and GT4 with the GT World Challenge Europe race now planned for 15:40, just slightly later than the original scheduled time. Let's hear from Arjun Maini, though. He's down in the pit lane. He's the fastest thus far. Let's get to our pit crew.
Well, Arjun, that was a mega lap. When you think about you're a gold driver up against all the pro drivers as well. What a great lap. What were you just saying to your teammate there about what you've learned out on track to push on in this second session?
Yeah, just giving him the information of what I felt. I mean, the car felt really good. It was really in a window, so we've improved it a lot since yesterday. So great job to the team, and great to see how the Ford Mustang GT3 is coming along and improving. So yeah, it was a great session.
Very quickly, what have you done overnight? What's the team been doing with the car and you've been working on to get this extra time, find these extra tenths?
Yeah, it was pretty much there, but we just found these extra small details and nailed the tire pressures. I think that's quite important here, and then the grip comes.
Devil's in the detail. Well done.
Thank you.
Good effort from Arjun Maini. Bryn Lucas having found our current quickest driver, and Chris Ward talking to him from Ford Motorsports. Used to be a Lamborghini coordinator for the American Championship. Good to have him here. Right, Q2 is underway, so different drivers. We've seen the cars already. Now we will start to see, as an example, what Eduardo Cossetane can do in the Mustang that went so well in the hands of Finn Wiebelhaus. That is number 12, Mercedes, first up. It's the Get Speed You Buy entry. That will now have Tom Callender behind the wheel of it, and he's one to watch.
Yeah, for sure. You see the Bartone car, he's just got his left-hand indicator on by mistake. Shouldn't be a problem in qualifying, but in the race might be a bit more, but slightly too close together potentially. The Bartone car may just get a bit of dirty air in Sector 3. At the moment, looks like he is gaining on the 12 car, the same car, and that dirty air just loses your aerodynamic grip, and it just starts to edge away from you, and actually works the tyre harder as well, so you can hurt your tyre even more than necessary potentially.
Callender then getting the warmth into that Pirelli tyre as the car currently sits 55th out of the 57. Gabriel Rindon, new to the Mercedes, having raced Lamborghinis for many, many years. Now it's up to Tom Callender to see what he can do. That absolute best sector is absolute best within Q2, so to say it's meaningless is a little bit unfair, but there are so few cars that have gone through the sector, there's not much to base it against.
No, too true, and this is a lap from Frog at the moment. He's straight on it, so he's gone no prep lap straight into it, and Sector 1 was good. Sector 2, okay, but look at the dust being kicked up, and there's even more on the exit as well, with a car fully off the track, and that's the Century BMW just joining there. So huge amount of debris getting dragged on. As a driver, not knowing what grip you've got before you turn into the corner is one thing, but then added jeopardy of gravel being placed there is another thing. I actually think Frog has maybe backed out of this lap slightly to set up the lap. He's following the sister Herbert Porsche right in front of him.
Another switch of car for Chris Froggatt and Ziggo Tempesta Racing. Switch of team as well, because after so many years of Ferraris and AF Corsa, well, now it's Porsche, but Herbert Motorsport operating the car for them. And we know that Herbert, which is here to run the Renault and Ralph Bowen car, are well versed in making quick Porsches, so good choice. For Optimum, Guilherme Oliveira, the Portuguese driver, then in the orange McLaren behind the Greystone car, coming now down to the Parabolica. And Oliveira looking good in the sectors thus far.
Really good. I spoke to him this morning, actually. Lovely young Portuguese lad. Quick yesterday in free practice too. Felt like they were in a good place. Wasn't 100% sure of where the car would be this morning. But it's an Iberian battle between these two drivers. You've got Tommy Pintos in the Greystone car from Spain versus the Portuguese Oliveira, 46.3. So he goes faster in this session, but we know that's not enough. That's nearly a second slower than the 64 Mustang did in Q1.
Goes ahead on the average now, because the average is significant as you look at 65. Eduardo Cossetane, the Filipino driver. His father was a Macau gear race competitor for a number of seasons. Eduardo, we've seen in UK single-seater racing. He's about to break the beam, and as he does so, fastest, 46.3, good effort. So the average now putting that car at the top. Eduardo Cossetane again carrying on the good pace that Ford has got, and so is Jeff Machiels in the Ferrari now. Absolute best sector 1.
Yeah, it seems to be the Ferrari takes a lap or two longer. We just don't see it light up the timing screen so much at the start, but it's going there. It's a pretty good middle sector, even though it's not his best. It's on the money. He's going to get a nice slipstream from the BMW in front of him. It's the parodying car, isn't it? Darren Lung in there, so could get away with this one where McEels doesn't get compromised, but gets the benefit of the slipstream.
So through the parabolica comes the Ferrari with the green mirrors. So they, of course, can tell them apart. Darren Lung's car just up the road ahead. The Paradigm entry that's got Patron at the wheel of it. And Darren Lung goes through. Jeff McEels now goes fourth on the average. You're looking at the average time and where that's going to put the car for the grid. And, of course, further up you are, the more chances you've got of keeping out of trouble. If you're mid-grid, then you really are in jeopardy.
Yeah, that's where it always kicks off, isn't it? That's the problem. Anywhere from 20th to 40th is a scary place to be come race day. The Mustang's still improving. And here is Piana in the Winwood car, sister car to the Man Filter car. It's been a good start to the lap so far, and this should be a pretty representative lap for Piana.
Well, look at Cossetang still doing amazing things in the sectors. So Gabriele Piana, who had a tough day yesterday in his GT4 race with a BMW that just was not very competitive. This is Eduardo Cossetang behind him in number 65 Ford, heading up towards the timing line. So he's already at the top. Can he go even quicker? Yeah, that's another good lap with two absolute best in the sectors. So now the average, a 45.9.
There's a problem for the Acuria Cost car there going slowly.
Right.
Hazard lights on. Looks like he may be even trying to pull over, or is he just doing a mega job of getting out of the way at the moment? Looks like the full course yellow's on with the flashing lights.
Yeah, you're right. Lorcan Hannafin at the wheel of that car, drops into it this weekend. Good to have Lorcan Hannafin on the grid. He takes over the seat of Tom Wood, but a problem, and that's the last thing they need right now. Guillaume Oliveira is third. He took over from Dante Raponge. Mikey Porter will be the other driver of that car. And you can see just up the road ahead is Tommy Pintos, then McLaren Trophy Europe champion. That's another championship that kicks off this weekend here, along with GT2, making its first races of the season. And Lorcan Hannafin limps on. It's not low, is it, on the corner? It looks more mechanical than anything, that.
Just looks like the full course yellow is latched at 80k. Yeah. The pace has been consistent, but unfortunately for him, consistently slow right now. Piana's on a lap. Oliveira maybe going to struggle to improve now. That middle sector losing 3.5 tenths, so he's going to cross the line. Let's remind ourselves, Marnie's lap was a 45.4. That was our fastest in Q1, and sure enough, Oliveira, I think, has backed out of that lap. Time for one more.
That's Gabriele Piana on the lights to say to Lorcan Hannafin, I know you've got your problems, mate. I'm coming by, and he goes round the outside. Hannafin had to get to the inside to get himself to pit in. Maybe that camera made it look slightly more sketchy than it was. Piana then, undaunted, heads up towards the line, goes second fastest. So Gabriele Piana, 77 thousandths down on average from the Ford Mustang.
You're bang on with Hannafin having to be there. If he was on the outside, he then has to try and cut across at some point, so that was the correct thing to do, although Piana definitely won't agree. Piana, hometown hero, seems to be the only driver doing the illegal move to the line fully across the inside. It has been noted in the race director's briefing not to do that. You see the cars staying there, but the shorter distance was the Piana line.
Cesar Gazzo improving up now to 12th in the silver Mercedes there, number 6. There is 66 Audi, and that's currently got Sebastian Oegaard at the wheel of it. This is looking good in silver, and the Audi, as we know, still a very rapid car, still capable of taking class wins. Tresor de Tempto Racing, one of the three teams operating the cars, because Santaloc's rejoined for endurance purposes this weekend. That car should still be on for a decent overall result, as well as a class win.
Yeah, such a well-known entity as well for the team, so they can keep the car in a nice window, so in the race you don't get the drop-off of the tyres predominantly, and that should race strong over the 3 hours this evening.
So there you've got the 74 Ferrari heading towards us. That's another car that's going to be well worth watching in bronze. Dustin Blattner has driven, Lorenzo Patrese is driving, and Dennis Marshall will drive. And Patrese on this lap, personal best, absolute best. The former show jumper coming up towards the timing line. And let's see where this is going to put the Ferrari. 11th it is at the moment on average, and as he breaks the beam, Patrese's up to 6th.
Wow, he set a pretty high bar there then, doesn't he? And that is a mega lap. The Sector 2's come from nowhere. I said earlier, the Ferrari's Piana does his line softly again, but the Ferraris just seem to take a lap or two longer than everybody else out the other 9 manufacturers just to get the car there. But that is a mega lap there from Patrese.
And now we come to the end of Q2A, because as you look at Max Hofer in the number 9 Porsche, the pros and the golds are allowed on track. These cars will finish this lap and then have to bail for the pit lane. So Hofer comes up towards the line. Good Sector 1, not so good Sector 2. Net result up to 7th, so it was worth pushing. So it's an improvement for the Porsche.
So again, this is the busy period of crossover time, so all the cars in the A session will be boxing this lap. So no one is getting compromised, although it does look twice as busy, funnily enough.
Indeed so, but these cars now go to the pit lane, and as they're doing that, the pros and golds are on a prep lap anyway. Little snap there for Romain Andriolo in the CSA Racing McLaren. Hopefully that's not going to compromise the lap too much, because it had looked good with personal bests in the sectors, so an improvement beckons for Andriolo, as he's currently 19th in the times. Doesn't improve, sadly stays 19th.
It looked like the rear tyre dropped off, like you said. Big snap oversteer on the way to Parabolico. Trail the brake in, trying to slow the car down into the corner, but you're taking the weight away from the rear axle. That's higher in the air, has less grip, and that's what happened to the McLaren there, and rear tyre has given up, it would seem.
There, down towards us comes the Aston Martin type of car that won at Paul Ricard, and Lorenzo Patrese heading towards pit in. So the Kessel run, Blattner-backed Ferrari. Dustin Blattner did Q1, comes down the pit lane. Lorenzo Patrese, who we'd largely seen, hadn't we, in Audis for Tresor Attempto, now switching to Kessel. And a job well done, but again, the order is going to shuffle, because we've only had, if you like, a session and a half. We're going to get the second session completed soon for those pros and golds. There is the Grasso Lamborghini, Maximilian Powell at the wheel of it, as he puts himself ahead of Chris Lullum, and then has a wallop of the curb. That fires the car sideways. He's at the other curb as well, but Maxime Powell did a good job to hang on to that.
Yeah, it seemed like it surprised him, because the curb strike was okay. It landed, and it was almost the secondary up on the car from the bounce. Really unsettled it. I wonder if he's going to give up on the lap already. So this hit looks okay. He's already got a load of oversteer as he goes in, actually, hasn't he? And does well. And it's a me, you, and composes himself and will go again. But when you make a mistake that early on in the lap, you're sometimes better to save the tyre and then get ready to go again. It looks like that already, because nearly a second down in Sector 1.
Chris Lullum is behind, and Maximilian Powell trying to regroup now on this lap as he comes out of the Lesmo Benz down towards the Ascari chicane. So still the best time from the earlier session claimed by the Mustang, but now on average the efforts of Finn Wiebelhaus and Eduardo Cosseteng putting the sister car to the top. That's all going to shuffle again though, with these pro and gold cars times being factored in. And Maximilian Powell does still have that car by the scruff of the neck. You can see the BMW weaving around just ahead. That's Max Hesser in the 46 car. Right, we're on board with the Corvette now, coming over the timing line, down towards the first chicane.
So 272 kilometers an hour yesterday for the Corvette. Hard on the brakes just after the 150 board, all the way down to second gear. First gear for the Corvette. Slow speed, 65k hard on the throttle now. We have the Mercedes in front at the moment. Won't be compromising us. Easy flat through Curve Grande. The corner goes on and on and on. But as a driver, you're already thinking about the next chicane. Where are you going to brake? Just after the 150, the gantry above us is a great visual. Don't use the shadow. That moves hard on the brake all the way down to second. Lots of curb on the left. Full throttle here. There's an annoying bump that unsettles the car. Now we have the first of the Lesmos. The first soft brake of the lap. Soft. Let the car roll in. Pick the throttle up on the access road on the right. Full gas. Use the curb. Lesmo 2 braking at the 50 board. Use all of the curb on the inside. Shorten the distance of the corner. Hard on the throttle. Through the gravel. Now we have another chance to relax. We're going to go under the historic banking of the original Monza circuit, built in 1922. Coming to Ascari, we're going to brake at the 150 or the Marshall post on your right if you're feeling brave. Get off the brake early. Launch over the curb on the left. Use all of the curb on the right. Shorter, that keeps you away from the gravel being drawn on. All over the curb on the reprofiled part of Ascari. One corner to go. You look at your delta. Am I up? Don't mess up. And when you think that, that's when you mess up. Braking at the 100-meter board and taking the brake into the corner to manipulate the weight of the car. Tuck it in, full throttle underneath that gantry. Let the car flow out, and now make sure you maximize every upshift to the line. It's looked like a clean lap. We've hit our marks. What's this going to do for the very quick from yesterday Corvette? At the moment, we're 27th.
Meanwhile, the Alessandro Frasinetti Audi coming through the Parabolica. Absolute best in Sector 1, personal best in Sector 2. And that car about to break the beam. Fourth it has become, and fastest it becomes. So further proof that the Audi is another car nicely suited to this circuit.
Loves it, doesn't it? The low-end torque we were talking earlier about the V10 working well here. And that gold car is a real cat amongst the pigeons. The timing tower with the different colour backgrounds of our classes. So that gold car, his next competitor, is all the way down in 20th. So doing really well. So is the bronze car of the 87 of Piano going on board now. The Mercedes of Lucas Stoltz. So we had the Corvette last time. Engine in the front of this Mercedes. Different driving style. You tend to use the weight of the engine to help the car rotate, but you are then traction limited, so sometimes throttle pickup coming slow. It's a good first sector at the moment for Stoltz. The second sector ends just before the brake zone for Ascari coming up. Preining is on a lap here, 21st at the moment in the Lion Speed car. This should be a big gain for this car here, all the way up to 13th. You can hear the curb usage from the Mercedes. The cars are designed for it. It's a titanium skid block. You can hear wearing itself out, but the energy still goes through as a driver. These curbs are brutal. It's like you're sitting on a washing machine full of bricks for 1 minute and 47 seconds here. One corner to go for Lucas Stoltz, 6th at the moment. It's going to be hard to improve as we go to this car that was fastest in Q1. It was a quickest Sector 1, Sector 2 slightly off, but this has got a good chance, I think, of being another 1 minute 45 lap for the Ford. First it Stoltz, breaks the line, does go up one position, and Shearer gets that car back up to first.
Does indeed, so good effort as Nicholas Nielsen goes across the line in the Ferrari. Fourth quickest that car is, with Tommaso Mosca still to go. Nielsen, of course, part of the factory GT as well as hypercar program. Le Mans winner a couple of years ago. So this part of the session, 2 more minutes still to go. Cars making their way over the line once again.
Where are the BMWs? They're up there, aren't they? With Pepper in 7th and Hesse in 10th. So they're showing stronger form than yesterday. McLaren's maybe weaker than expected, with the 59 from Garage 59 in 15th at the moment. And you'd say the Porsches as well are flattered to deceive after looking like one of the cars to beat and maybe our tip to go. It's really the Mustang has raised the bar massively, and this is another purple Sector 1 from the 64. Should be okay with the traffic as well of Lucas Stoltz in front, so this could be a further improvement for Fabian Scherer.
Yeah, these Fords still looking good. Scherer a little bit down in that middle sector. Let's see what he can do then as the car comes through the Ascari chicane. Can he find any time at the very end of this lap? Coming up now towards Parabolica. There you've got Maxi Goetz ahead. It doesn't say GT2, it's the short code for Maxi Goetz as he comes through Parabolica now. This Mercedes needing to find a little bit of time because it's only 18th at the moment.
Yeah, really struggling, aren't they, as the Ford fires through, and yeah, this Mustang, I mean, and Scherer, they're definitely not sheepish about using the curbs at all, are they? It seems to be a big advantage for this Mustang, and yeah, they keep cementing their place in first place. The average time dropping.
Talking of Porsches, not quite delivering what we anticipated. 13th, now 14th is where you find the Schuring Boccalacci Picariello car. It is at the moment Dorian Boccalacci at the wheel, coming down towards Parabolica. Behind is the sister car, which has got Robin Knudsen at the wheel. Robin, just to make the point, yet to do a racing lap in either endurance or sprint in the 2 races he has done. Eliminated on lap 1 of both. The poor guys had just no luck at all.
No, he really hasn't. Boccalacci up to 12th. Here's the Danish car here, and 14th at the moment. It was a good lap in Q1 from Schandorf, wasn't it? He got that car well inside the top 10. 14th at the moment as the checkered flag falls.
So that ends Q2. as the Ferrari goes by. Got Lukas Stolz on a mission as well. He goes 7th in number 48 Mercedes. Monza Edrup 10th. This is Stolz, and on his next lap, let's see, another improvement within the first sector though.
Yeah, it's going well, the Mercedes. Mercedes always kind on its tyres. We spoke about this car being front engine. That does help the weight distribution. It doesn't eat its rear tyre quite as much through the weight of the car. The traction is normally the main problem. As you spin the rear up, it kills the life. He's on the flashes just to say to the Corvette, if you're boxing, then please get out of the way. The Corvette seems to be pushing, so shouldn't be a problem for Stolz here. Can he do anything about this car? Down in 7th at the moment, 5 places behind the lead Mercedes of Lulham, who I have to say has gone under the radar in this session. His best lap was actually quicker than the Corvette in this session on a 45.5. Stolz does go up to 5th.
Through he goes then, Lukas Stolz, an improver. Jake Dennis is trying to do good things as well, the Formula E champion of seasons past, 22nd at the moment. He's dropped a little bit of time in that middle sector, but Jake Dennis then there in the middle of the pack, as it were. He's got cars fore and aft, comes down now through the Parabolica, up to take the checkered flag. That will end the session for him.
22nd at the moment. It's a strange thing to say about the 98 Rover BMW, and it stays 22nd as well with 1 session to go. But yeah, just go back to the Lulham one. What a lap, 2 tenths quicker than Juncker. So yes, he attracted the 5-place penalty, but he'll feel slight redemption with that one. Or is it bigger frustration? Because at the end of this session, when you add 5 places onto their finishing position, it will feel very painful.
But he's kind of got to do that, hasn't he? I know it sounds obvious, but when you have got that penalty, you've got to try and mitigate the damage as best you can. So you have to qualify as high up, given that the best you're ever going to do is 6th. So Chris Lulham having to find something, and Jules Gounon will be the next driver into that car. So we've still got a Ford at the top of the times. Fabio Scherer is the driver at the wheel as he brings the car to the pit lane, with Chris Lulham, Alessandro Frasinetti, Nicholas Nielsen, Lukas Stolz and Arthur Leclerc rounding out that top 6 currently. And then we'll get another different driver in for the next part of qualifying. I'm tempting fate slightly by saying this, but it seems to have been a tidier session. Yeah, the pressure is on, but we don't have the scrappiness that we saw in FP1 yesterday.
Why are you saying that with such a smug smirk on your face?
Just because I haven't got a flight to catch at the end of the night, that's all.
It's all about you, David.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm glad you've noticed. But is this now because they've gone through that period yesterday of finding the limit, making the mistakes, or is it purely that they are behaving because the pressure is on? We'll discuss that in a second after we've just caught up on the order with Arjun Maini and Fabio Scherer taking the top time on the average from Danny Juncker and Chris Lulham. Dylan Pereira and Alessandro Frasinetti 3rd, and they top gold. Alessio Rovera and Niklas Nielsen are 4th ahead of Lukas Aaron Stolz. Then you've got Lulu Wadu and Arthur Leclerc to be 6th. Finn Weberhaus, Eduardo Cosateng 7th, and they top silver. Kelvin van der Linde and Jordan Pepper, interestingly, bringing a BMW into the mix now 8th. Marvin Dienst and Gabriele Piana are on top in bronze. And then Frederick Schandorf and Monza Edrup ran out the top 10. So again, you've got all the classes represented within that top 10. Slightly surprised, I go along with your thought that the Porsches would have been doing better. Ricardo Feller and Thomas Preining struggling for now, but let's see what can pan out not only in Q3, but also, of course, it's a long race, and whatever the grid order is, it's all going to shuffle coming out the other side of turns 1 and 2. That first chicane can make or break your race, can't it?
Yeah, and we see cars dive across the inside to avoid a collision and then get a penalty as well. So it's a difficult one to go. And yeah, we're going to see a different order of drivers as well, just because they did Q1 doesn't mean there are start drivers. So some of these bronze cars specifically that would start lower down might have a fast driver in the start as Lulham jumps out. It'd be great to hear his thoughts on, was the penalty fair? Does he know he made the mistake? Coming from the sim world, of course, the rules are the same, and you still have stewards in the sim world. I used to get my voice chat banned all the time for things I said, so he'll be used to the rules. But yeah, this frustration of 5 places, and he's talking to Jules Gounon, who will be getting in the car for the final session of the qualifying, and it was Jules Gounon who was quickest overall last year in quali on a 45.0 as we look at the number 3 car hopping over the curb at turn 1.
So that Mercedes, which is another car well suited to this circuit, the type of car that was victorious here last year. The fast lane has opened for Q3A, and Chris Lulham then the fastest in that isolated session, but on the average just 0.124 of a second back from the fastest time. They can't take pole because of the grid drop that they've got. Nina Jade Paul is in the pits, and she's found Chris Lallam for us.
Chris, fastest of that session, and maybe getting probably a bit of damage control with a 5-place grid penalty. How are you feeling about the rest of qualifying?
Yeah, I'm not feeling so bad because we clearly have a package to compete with. I think regardless of where we start, the race is going to be pretty chaotic. So, I mean, showing we have the performance, it's promising for the race, yeah.
You can very much overtake here. Do you feel the penalty was fair? Did you know you made the mistake at the time?
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. The car was slow on the pit exit. I should have also taken more caution, but, you know, it happens.
It's racing. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris Lallam, who has done a huge amount for his reputation since he came from sim racing. He didn't walk straight from sim into GT racing. He was a somewhat dominant radical champion, so he'd done proper real-world racing before he came into this. But with respect, radicals in the UK, GT World Challenge, the gulf is huge, isn't it? It's a massive step up.
Yeah, and it's a cool feat for him that really he's here because of Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen saw his talent on the sim and has taken him all the way through. So for someone of that greatness to recognise greatness must be a real proud moment for that man.
And we know that Max is keeping a close eye on GT racing. He's enjoyed his Nürburgring outings, and we saw him at Paul Ricard. Of course, he'd come to watch the team. How long before he's on one of the SRO grids in World Challenge, never mind IGTC. Right, cars on track. This is Q3A. So, again, you've got your bronzes and your silvers, which includes going through number 992 BMW, Josh Rowdage at the wheel, replacing Bobby Thompson, who was in it most recently. A drama for Jaden Kelly. Got a puncture. So on his out lap, is it?
I think it's a loose wheel. The way the whole wheel is moving in and out, I think he's trying to nurse that back to pit lane, but I think the wheel is loose rather than puncture.
So it would sort of make sense, in as much as finger trouble, put the wheel on and send the car. We've had a lot of this, haven't we? Loose wheels and unsafe releases. Can he actually nurse it back, or is he going to have to park it and therefore qualifying is over and ruined?
Even if you can get it back, there's going to be so much damage to the hub. The way the wheel sits onto the suspension is going to be damaged, and the only other thing it could be is suspension damage if he's hit a curb. But for him, he's in a bad place right now, and cars are going to really start to get compromised at the end of the next lap.
We'll try and have a closer look at that front right corner, but the car limps on, and there it is. It's going past us slowly. So Jaden Kelly, last year's McLaren Trophy Europe champion, with a problem, as there going through is the number 6 Get Speed Mercedes. That car now with Aurelian Panis at the wheel, as you see, and lighting up the sectors early on, really the first man through them, and therefore the only person with any sort of representative mileage. But Jaden Kelly, even by the time he gets back to the pit lane, he's going to have lost most of his 10 minutes allocated for this session. Yeah,
and he has to be on these tyres as well, so there isn't a chance to put another set of tyres on. That would break a regulation, which would mean his time was disallowed anyway. This lap from Paris is probably going to be in a high 46, so not a bad benchmark for an early lap. He crosses the beam now, 46.4, so last sector was good actually, to get us into a mid 46.4, and that car obviously the only one to do 3 laps, so that's why it jumps up the order. I'm going more with your theory about it being a loose wheel now, because race control are saying the unsafe release has been noted for that car. So as you've got a Ferrari off spectacularly there coming out of the Ascari chicane, it must be a loose wheel. The McLaren you can see still limping back to the pit lane. Do you think that could have been because of the McLaren going slowly? Just look at the distance in the background, maybe getting caught out in the mid part of Ascari, but luckily the 52 getting going and no damage, it would seem, to that car.
Gilles Stadsbader was the driver having that moment. You also just saw Jaden Kelly peeling from one side of the circuit to the other, like Lorcan Hanafin had to do. That's the other question, isn't it? Has the Blackthorn Ecuriacos Aston gone back out with Johnny Adam at the wheel of it? Because that will start to tell us whether the problem is fixed, and the answer is no at the moment. That is still down in the pit lane. Lorcan Hanafin never got a lap time in. Johnny Adam has not yet gone out. This is Dennis Marshall, who is perhaps an underrated driver. Spent a few years with Audi, but when the Audi Sport programme came to an end, Dustin Blackner snapped him up. They've done lots of successful mileage together in Europe, in Asian Le Mans Series as well. Maxime Osten in the Mustang is looking good. Dennis Marshall in that very rapid Kessel Ferrari goes through. This is Maxime Osten coming then now through the Parabolica. And the car has been good all day. Currently, number 74 Ferrari is the quickest on average. Dennis Marshall's time putting it top. Maxi Moston takes it away from him as he goes through and puts 65 Mustang now quicker than anything else out there.
Moston's lap 2/10 quicker than Marshall's in this session. 45.6, 45.8 respectively for our cars in first and second at the moment.
There is Gerhard Ferrauser, who, once he's done this, jumps into a GT2 spec Maserati for the first race of the day. Grateful that there's at least 10 minutes in between, but he will be the start driver, so he's very quickly got to adapt from one to t'other.
Interesting, he did Q3. If you were that way round, you would have thought that would put you into the Q1 pool of options.
However, better brains than ours have worked out the strategy at Tresor Tempo for number 88. See Mikey Porter in terms of the graphic there, doing good things in sectors. Ferrauser's Audi is currently 17th. Carrie Schreiner and Daniele Diamato have already driven, and Ferrauser goes up to 12th.
Yeah, it's going to be a lap for Mikey Porter here. That should get the car back inside the top 10, hopefully for the Optimum Motorsport team as we pick them up, coming through the Parabolica really wide there. You can see him just squiggling there. He's touching the drain that starts on the green bit. You want to try and stay off that. It looks like you'd want to run up to the gravel, but you lose grip before that, all the way up to second at the moment, and a 45.8 right on the money. Anyone in the 45s has done a good job in this qualifying session.
Number 97 Porsche, rattling over the curb, has now got Sven Müller at the wheel. Sven in for Luke Hartog this weekend, and of course Sven Müller, 1/3 of last year's Endurance Cup winning trio when he was driving with Patrick Niederhauser in the Rutronic Porsche, and coming now down through the Parabolica. So Sven, who has always been a Porsche specialist, we saw him in British GT as well last year, put him in a Porsche somewhere and he will deliver. Up towards the line he comes.
Yeah, I think I've coined him one of the most aggressive drivers out there. The front bumper never comes back the same way it left, and just gets into the 45s, and yeah, he breaks up a dream team last year, didn't he? Niederhauser himself and Picciarello were a real force to be reckoned with, and yeah, amazing how fluid the driver market is at the top end for these very much in-demand GT drivers. Bendor here was fastest in FP2, wasn't he? And at the moment is on a good lap. Should bring this average down. Of course, one lap only affects 1/3 of the average, so it's quite hard to make big inroads. If he could bring the average down to maybe a 46.2 would be good. His lap is going to be a 45.5. Phenomenal lap there. Gets the toe lovely off the Herbeth car. Is going to keep going and slip to the inside of Renault and will hopefully clear him before they hit the brakes for turn 1. We go back to Dennis Marshall. Again, this middle sector is seemingly hard to keep going with. It's the hardest sector out of the 3 on the tyre in terms of what you need from it. So that's why I think we see the drop, but then the car staying good in the less tyre-dependent sectors of 1 and 3.
Still looking good for Ford, isn't it? The best the Mustang's ever been on an endurance grid, 18th. So right now, looking as though they're going to be able to improve on that. Up towards the timing line comes the Ferrari. Something else, though, that 2Cs will be pondering for number 3, the Juncadella Lullen and Gounon car for later on, is if they get the fastest time on average, do they still claim the point for pole position? Because it's not a qualifying infringement, it's a grid drop. So arguably they could have the point for notional pole on the times, even though they then don't start there. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think we've had a precedent before of that penalty happening, and, and it was given. So I believe that's the way it will go. I want to give a shout out to Renat Salikov as well in the Winwood Mercedes, the bronze grade driver, doing a 46.5 is a phenomenally fast time for our AM part of that class.
Salikov, though, is a lot better than people give him credit for. He's done a lot of miles and he's experienced and he's got some good co-drivers, and he just quietly gets on with the job. You know, you don't often see Salikov in the gravel. He just quietly gets on with it and can deliver. Yeah,
really nice guy. We've kind of known each other for 10 years. We say hello in the paddock, always smiling, loving life, and exactly how a bronze-graded driver should approach. Bendor is still on the lap, going to finish now, and does improve as well. Bendor is in some serious form right now.
I was about to say that. He looked really good yesterday. He set the fastest time of FP2 in that car for Bob Neville's team yesterday, and brings it up to 4th on the average. This is Dennis Marshall leaping over the curve. The Ferrari's down to 5th. Remember that we've had Dustin Blattner and Lorenzo Petresi in it. 45 Ferrari now good. David Perel has done the absolute best in Sector 1. David Perel coming towards the end of the lap. And as far as Dennis Marshall is concerned, he's now got the Porsche just up the road ahead of him there.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a faster lap in qualifying yet than that 45.3 from Bendor. So shows you how quick that car is. Is Marshall going to be able to improve on that? It would seem not. And just going away from him at the end of the lap, David Perel is on a lap and should be crossing line. We pick him up now, and he'll be crossing the line, hopefully for him, in around 8 seconds' time.
Yeah, Dylan Medler and Rafael Duran have gone. David Perel, the South African, somebody else that's massively involved with sim racing, with his coach Dave business, comes up across the timing line. 7th, he puts the Ferrari. Ivan Klimenko, the Ukrainian driver, coming to the line. Good to have Santalot back with us. The French team, just the one Audi, but the very experienced French team operating it and putting the Silver Cup car to 6th now. Ezekiel Paris Compact and Etienne Kelly having already gone. And there, we've got the Greystone McLaren back out.
Yeah, so they did get the wheel back on A-OK, and good for Jaden Kelly just to get some laps in before the race to make sure the car is okay.
Big flash of the lights from the Josh Rowditch Paraline BMW, the blue one there coming towards the shot. The track's got busier again because everybody for Q3B has now come pouring out onto the circuit, as well as there. Down it to Parabolica. Eddie Cheever goes through. Still picking a winner in this race this afternoon is going to be well nigh impossible, but it's going to be a really, really good 3 hours, that's for sure. There's a Razzoon Porsche, currently 32nd in the times, and it's got Stelanios Kolovos at the wheel, as you see Mikey Porter come up towards the end of the session. 3rd, currently in the times on the average, and 2nd in silver.
Yeah, Optimum will be happy that they're the fastest McLaren at the moment, but it's close with the RGN car directly behind them. And we've got a good smattering of manufacturers, haven't we, across the board. 10 manufacturers represented, the balance of performance, keeping all the cars equal. And at the moment, it'll be interesting to see what happens to that balance of performance after qualifying.
So the silvers and bronzes, session done. And make the cars down the pit lane. The little skates go underneath, so the cars can be twirled around rapidly and taken into the garages. There you've got the Boots and VDS Porsches, one of which will now include Alessio Picariello, the other part of last year's Endurance Cup winning team, along with, as we say, Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser. Garage 59's McLaren's dispatched, and there is the Valentino Rossi BMW for the pros and the gold, an outlap, so times won't be sparkling yet, but with 7 minutes of qualifying remaining, the grid now starts to take shape.
Yeah, this jostling position so important, while also looking to get the tyre temp in the right place. The drivers can see tyre pressures, tyre temp on the dash that are live, so can the engineers. So they'll be working in unison, the driver being told what they need to do sometimes to make sure they're ready to go. And Rossi setting this lap up. You can slingshot it out of the last corner just to make sure you hit the line with 1 kilometre an hour or 2 as we go on board with the Doctor. What's the BMW got? We rode on board earlier with the Corvette and with the Mercedes. Now we go to the BMW. Normally the BMW, the best over the curbs. So again, braking point is the second polystyrene board on the left, the 150, hard on the brakes, all the way down to first gear for the BMW, all over the curb on the right. Avoid the one on the left. It unsettles the traction too much to really outweigh the benefit negative connotations you're going through there. Curva Grande once more, easy flat, shortest distance possible is really the key there, and then you're setting yourself up for the next big break of the lap. Where's Rossi going to break? The gantry is a good reference for the Corvette, and it's late, really late. Are we going to get it stopped in time? We do. Over the curb, hard on the throttle, take the second curb as well. The car airborne, but still building speed. Lesmo 1, the patient weight on the throttle, easy to drop a wheel on the exit here. Line looking good for Rossi. Lesmo 2, all of the curb on the inside is the important part of this corner, slightly wide there, and I felt like we were late picking the throttle up as well. We're going to listen into this car now.
And we go for it, mate.
So that's the engineer-driver relationship. He's obviously happy with the car, and he's telling Rossi we go for it. I assume that was at the end of the lap we picked this car up, so he knew he was time to go. We're chasing the Rover BMW in front. The gap has grown ever so slightly, but not too bad. So this is a good lap from Rossi. and then we go into Parabolica, this long corner, and it's unsymmetrical, so it's difficult to really pick some nice references of where to pick the throttle up. You're feeling the car is moving around underneath you. You're adjusting it with the throttle, with the steering, and now we push to the line. What are we up to at the moment? A 42 and a 43. The clock is going to stop, I think, in the 46s, 46.2. Good luck for Rossi, up to third in this session.
BMWs, as predicted, looking stronger today, aren't they? So that car currently third, best of the pros as well. It may not stay there as you look at Thomas Drouet in the car that was quickest in Q1 when Arjun Maini was behind the wheel of it, but Thomas Drouet now powering his way up towards the line. This part of the racetrack has Ford written all over it, doesn't it? Long, fast, wide. He goes through. Fastest then, Thomas Drouet up to the top of the times in the Mustang. And the average time now is a 1:45.586 to beat.
Yeah, I expect Drury to find a few tenths as well, 45.7. The fastest the car's gone is 3 tenths quicker than that with more fuel. So I expect Drury to keep improving with the 4 minutes and 5 seconds we now have remaining.
There's the Lion Speed Porsche of Bastien Bus that was the winner of the second Sprint Cup race at Brands Hatch. Dennis Lind, who has been a hero all weekend, was ever thus, comes up towards the line. Let's see what Dennis can do. The Chevrolet at the moment is 41st, but it won't be there for much longer. He was quickest briefly in FP1 yesterday. He gets the car up to 30th. He shares that with Mikkel Mack and Antoine Doquin. So Dennis Lind, probably the quickest of the three, then Mikkel Mack. As you look at Raffaele Marciello, who's 56th fastest. He won't be there for much longer either, taking over from Jake Dennis, who took over from Augusto Farfus. What can Marciello do? We're about to find out. The car looking a little bit nervous as he comes down to the Parabolica through the long, fast right. He comes, opens up the steering, heads towards the timing line. We know that BMWs are on a better day today. 12th is where you find number 32, and 18th is where the Rover Racing car goes.
Yeah, you're right. The nervousness on entry. We saw this guy doing a roll bar change, didn't we, yesterday in one of the free practices, but at the moment that would definitely be limiting the entry speed the driver would want to commit. Even with Marciello, arguably one of the best GT drivers out there, you could only work with the physics underneath you, and it didn't look great what he had underneath him. Here is Mosca coming into the final corner of the 51 car. It's not been a mega middle sector, but remember, this Ferrari seems to keep going, so he's got time for 2 more laps after this one if he needs it, and Drury set to improve as well. He does find a couple of tenths, so his fastest lap is bang on the average for the car now.
Right, so Drouet the fastest, Tommaso Mosca coming through behind, and Thomas Drouet will be a very happy man indeed. Ford's first pole potentially in GT World Challenge Europe. There is Marvin Kirchhofer, the Garage 59 McLaren driver, also on a big push here.
Yeah, the car's fastest McLaren now, and what can Kirchhofer do? The average of the car there, 46.1, and it looks like he's well backed out of this one, so deciding off that middle sector and the traffic in front of him, his better course is to set it up. And at this point, the engineers will be saying, if you back off by more than 5 seconds, you lose a lap. So I think that's why it wasn't the biggest back off, because he wants to guarantee himself 2 more laps before the checker flag falls.
So Kirchhofer 15th as he comes across the line. The car shared with Dean McDonald and Joseph Loke. That was another one that had an unsafe release yesterday with a wheel parting company in FP1. Raffaele Marciello is coming now down towards the Parabolica right-hander. Ram, the short code for him. He did drive for Ram Racing, didn't he, in British GT with John Ferguson for a short period of time. Comes up towards the line and looking to go quicker than 18th as he breaks the beam and stays 18th.
I'm not sure if the Ram's a marketing thing, because he's always been MAR, hasn't he, previously? So I prefer Ram, and hopefully that's the intention he'll have in the 3-hour race later. He'll need it. It's starting in 18th.
I can see a whole new range of merchandise coming out for that. Trying to work out who's taken over Mar on the short code. Anyway, good effort by Arjun Maini, Fabio Scherer and Thomas Drouet. Where did 48 Mercedes get to? 7th with Mauro Engel's efforts at the end. Nicky Tim coming to the end of the session. The Paul Ricard winning Aston Martin's 10th in the times. And the best BMW you've got now is 9th. It's the Charles Weerts, Jordan Pepper, Kelvin van der Linde car.
Just been kicked up once more. And speaking to the teams, I thought the air filters would be taking a load of extra work here, but apparently all the air filters running as normal, so that shouldn't be a factor later on in the race. And you can see Engel there just getting past the Ferrari for time. Nicky Team backing out of it. Is that him coming into the pits or giving it one final push?
It's going to be marginal. It's whether he's got one final push with 20 seconds on the clock. Simon Birch coming down to the chicane. joining Malte Edrup and Frederick Champerhoff in that car.
Looks like Marcello's given up on his lap as well, so expect him to box as well. Bastien Bus really on a lap here in Sector 1, they would see in the 80 Lion speed car, so he's in Sector 2 right now. Simon Birch is the next car to cross the line. Is he going to improve the average? Looks like he's boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Bastien Bus is the best of the Porsche drivers at the moment. No, Simon Birch stays out. Simon Birch stays to go through again, takes the flag, and Bastien Bus is in danger of being held up here.
Really isn't he? Harry George there in the option car is pushing on hard, but unfortunately for Bus, he is properly parked behind him, and I think this lap is going to go away from him. It was an okay Sector 2, but Sector 3 will be where the problem is.
Dennis Marshall, to finish another story, has been the driver that's now been allocated MAR on the short code, so that's why Raffaele Marciello has become a Ram. Bastien Bus then comes out of the Parabolica. He and Riccardo Feller won the second of the Sprint Cup races at Brands Hatch, and this car is the best of the Porsches, but it won't take the flag on the track. It will go to the pit lane.
Yeah, shame for him with the traffic. Picciarello here running in formation with the other Boutsen car. To me, just is cruising in. It's not a super slow cruise, it's just enough to take the energy out. Rain light flashing, showing the pit lane limiter is already engaged, and you now have this calm as a driver. The height of qualifying, the pressure is more than the race for many because it is so important, and now you have to get your mindset ready for the race later on today.
Yeah, I mean, all of that, and that only determines the grid. You know, there's a huge amount of effort for something that becomes distorted, changed as soon as you get to the first corner.
Academic.
Yeah, quite. It's going to change anyway, given penalties. So, Danny Junqueira, Chris Lallam, Jules Gounon, second in the times, +5.
Yeah, that will feel painful going from front row to 7th. Yes, you're out of the main mix of cars, but if you were to get taken out from 7th, you definitely would go, would we have been taken out from 2nd?
Monza filling up as the fans are here to not only drool over GT cars, cheer for their heroes, and of course there's lots of Valentino Rossi support. Although he didn't come here on 2 wheels, he has been in the Monza Rally in the past. Right, so we have our Rover Pole Position Award, of course, and the cars for the technical checks required. The circuit won't be quiet for long because there's a GT2 and a McLaren Trophy and a GT4 race to come in quick succession before we get the cars on the grid for 3 hours of racing later on today. So, a first Ford pole. Arjun Maini, Fabio Scherer and Thomas Drouet make history from Danny Junqueira, Chris Lallam and Jules Gounon, starting from the second fastest time with a 5-place grid drop. That's going to put Dylan Pereira, Alessandro Frasinetti and Lorenzo Ferrari's gold pole Audi onto the front row. Then the silver pole Ford, Finn Wiebelhaus, Eduardo Cosseteng and Maxime Osten ahead of Riccardo Feller, Thomas Preining and Bastien Bus. A little bit further down, your top bronze car, 17th, Marvin Deans, Gabriele Piana and Rinat Salikov. But you look at that and you think, I've got no idea where the winner's going to come from. The number 80 Porsche perhaps is one to watch, not necessarily slighting the pace of the Ford, but it's not been a consistent front runner. So to have it up there is really a bit of an unknown.
Yeah, some of the gaps, there's cars tied on time. So it was 13th and 14th, here 24th and 25th, exactly the same time. And that's with the combined times. They've driven for 17.3 kilometres and have done exactly the same time to the 1,000th,
across
which
3
works
drivers.
out to be 2 centimetres of difference over 17 kilometres. This is going to be an incredible race.
So if anybody says the BOP doesn't work, they need to have a look at that, don't they? Well, there is quite a moment. The Ford Mustang of Arjun Maini, Fabio Scherer and Thomas Drouet takes a maiden pole position. First time we've seen the Mustang take pole, the first time we've had a Ford on pole position in GT World Challenge Europe, or its predecessor. Thomas Drouet finishing the session, helping, of course, to cement that car's position at the very front, and he will clamber out of the car. Nina Jade or Bryn will be in that direction very shortly to have a word. A session of great intrigue, full of surprises, and this perhaps the nicest of the surprises. It's a real feel-good story, isn't it, this?
Yeah, really is, and I just know how hard HRT have been working to get this car where it should be, and that will be a huge relief for them. And where can they race from? The positive for them is this car looks strong in race trim as well, so hopefully not a flash in the pan in terms of performance, just as a qualifying special.
Tom Drouet is driven for the Acodis ASP team. He's driven for Boots and VDS, and now with HRT. He came from French Formula 4 racing. Fabio Scherer and Arjun Maini also single-seater converts. So there's quite a lot to say for a single-seater background before you come into this. Right, the drivers then will pose for photographs, and we'll no doubt be able to hear from them. 33 cars within a second of one another. Previous record we had was 32 here in 2018, and actually at the Nürburgring last year. So further illustration of how competitive it is. So let's hear from our pole drivers. It's pole for Ford.
Let's start with you then, Fabio. That was it was consistency. When you look at your times between the three of you, it was half of a tenth of a second. It was so tight. It was consistent. It was amazing.
Yeah, the car was mega to drive. Everyone did a really, really good job, and I think it's so important for the whole team. It was not always easy. We had some struggles. Paul Ricard was really hard for us, and to come back like this, mega. Huge thanks to everyone in the team who works day and night. Because we needed it. I think for everyone it's really good. So I hope we can do a good race now.
Mentioning the tough start you had to the season, Arjun, to come here and to put down a time and a marker the way you have done, it's an impressive feat from you all.
Yeah, absolutely, and it shows the effort HRT Ford Racing have put in. The Ford Mustang GT3 is finding its way now, and we made big improvements from last evening. So yeah, we surprised ourselves as well, but a great job from everyone, great job from these boys, and looking forward to the race now.
Thomas, you look at your own, probably the biggest pressure on your shoulders because they've done the work. You had to just keep it going.
Yeah, man, it was so tough because obviously I was happy because the car was a rocket ship. I knew it, but these guys, they did an amazing job, so I needed to finish it. I'm happy I finished it, and huge thanks to the team because they did a mega job, to my teammates, and we are getting there with the Ford, so I'm so happy.
Stats-wise, the best ever position is 18th on the grid. That's a pole position. That's quite some improvement. Let's get your awards now. It's the Rover Pole Position Award now being handed to the drivers, and they'll take the acclaim from the photographers and the fans around here in the pit lane.
Brilliant, thanks. Well done to Hubert Haupt's team. Sean-Paul Breslin, former racer himself, who's been with HRT, having gone with Hubert Haupt really from Black Falcon to start Hubert's team. Initially it was with Mercedes, but they've worked long and hard on this project. There are a far fewer number of Mustangs being raced compared to, let's say, a Mercedes or a Ferrari. So getting the data back is somewhat limited, and of course it's a largely American creative project more than European, but it is really good to see the car developing, going in the right direction, and the race pace now is going to be very interesting indeed, isn't it?
Yeah, some huge strengths, and Multimatic obviously hugely involved in the project, and they're really the go-to for dynamic chassis control in terms of development, so I'm sure that's why we're seeing it so good over the curves. They use this shaker rig where they place the car and it shakes it around in a static environment so you can start to tune it, and for sure Multimatic getting the benefits of that.
Let's look back at qualifying, which began with the grandstands very busy indeed, with the Valentino Rossi faithful ready to cheer number 46 BMW to the Echo. Initially, there was plenty of action coming from the silver and bronze Cup cars. Marvin Dienst's Mercedes amongst them. Finn Wiebelhaus was one of the early stars in the Silver Cup Mercedes, and when the pros and golds hit the track, Danny Juncadella was the first driver to post a good lap time for the Verstappen.com 2C run. Mercedes. Audis were looking quick across the Trezor and Temto board, but it was Arjun Maini who was ultimately fastest in Q1, making history for the Haupt racing team, and more history would be made. The Silver Cup car continued to rattle its way over the curbs as they came through the first chicane. Lorenzo Petresi was very, very rapid for Castle Racing in its Bronze Cup Ferrari, and with so much variety on track, qualifying having been split as well, with the numbers of cars to give drivers a chance of finding some clear track space. Silver and bronze running together, pro and gold likewise. And in the final part of qualifying, we had a spinning car coming out of the Ascari chicane. We also had the slow McLaren of Jaden Kelly with the loose wheel. He was eventually able to get back out again, albeit badly compromised. But as cars continue to try to improve the average across the three drivers, ultimately it was a history-making pole position for Ford. Not that example, but the all-blue car that runs in pro, with Arjun Maini, Fabio Scherer and Thomas Drouet being able to get the most out of the car. We're going to have an Audi, this number 99 example from Trezor Temto Racing, on the front row. with number 3, Mercedes, having had a 5-place grid drop and falling down the order. Pole for Ford, they make history. We'll go racing at 15:40 here at Monza.